Hello, welcome to Revenant Reads. I'm Ben, and this is an announcement video for Sagalong 2024. So, Sagalong is an annual reading event. It was originally created by Elena Macredina. Hopefully I'm saying that name right. It's basically where each year one or two medieval Icelandic sagas would be read as a big group read, and videos would be made about them. And it came to be an annual Booktube event that I really looked forward to and that I enjoyed. And it actually inspired me basically each April, usually it was in April, to read a lot of, basically have that month be my reading about Vikings. And that tradition has stayed alive. So this year, things are going to be a little bit different. Elena, she's not really making Booktube videos anymore, but we have a group that is still continuing on with the Saga-long tradition. And this year, we have decided to read the Saga of the Volsungs, or Volsunga Saga. You can read it in various different editions. I have chosen the Jackson Crawford translation for this one. And in the past, what they have generally done was to have their selections of sagas, and then like over a 4-week period, basically read the sagas, and every week have update videos. Now, myself and some of the other co-hosts involved, we kind of didn't really feel like the weekly structure was fitting with our filming or our reading schedule. And other people kind of agreed with that. So we decided we're going to do things a little bit more simply, a little bit looser this time. So we have this announcement video coming out on April 20th. And then from about 2 weeks from there, we will have had this read and we will make some videos about our thoughts on it. Now it might be a little bit sooner than that, might be a little bit later than that, but this is not very long. In the edition that I have, it only goes to 83 pages. That's about it. So this should be a fairly quick read. So that's what we're going to do. We will read it over the next 2 weeks or so, and then we will make some videos about it. And we'd love it if you kind of came along with us and also read this. So, I have not been a co-host in past years, but I'm definitely pleased to be a co-host this year. Like I said, this kind of event became an excuse for me to read a bunch of Viking history in April, which I began doing over the last few years. And I am the creator and, of course, one of the co-hosts of Historathon 2024. This is our second year doing Historathon. That is a year-long event, a reading event, in which we read, we discuss, and we celebrate nonfiction history. And we split the year up into 4 quarters, each quarter looking at a different time period. And April, May, and June is quarter 2, and that looks at the years 500 to 1500, which fits perfectly within the kind of Viking age, which these sagas have to do with. Now, these sagas were written afterwards by Christians, but you can still find out, learn a lot about the earlier age, especially the pre-Christian age, from there, even though there have been changes made. Now, the Saga of the Volsungs, this was written down in the 13th century, and it is based on events that happened in the 5th century. I think especially the fall of the Burgundian kingdom, I believe, by the Huns. So this goes back, pretty deep into historical memory. And one of the things that happens with these sagas is the farther back in time that the events deal with, the more fantastical the story. So I have not read this, but I expect it to basically have, more, Odin show up a lot more, more supernatural creatures, that sort of thing. As the sagas get closer and closer to the time period in which the saga writers were writing, you find less and less of that stuff, and it's more realistic. But that's not what I expect from here. Now, a lot of the basics of the story will probably be familiar to people. Most famously, I think, it was adapted into an opera by Richard Wagner. And I think that's unfortunately also the reason from these 19th century depictions of these events why so many people believe that Vikings had either horned or winged helmets, which of course they didn't. But yeah, I am excited about this quite a bit. I had already been planning to read, let me just grab it real quick here, Jackson Crawford's translation of the Poetic Edda, which also known as the Elder Edda. And I know that from what I understand, the the basis of the writer for this took also from this. So that's where a lot of this comes from. So I was already planning on reading this for Q2 of Historathon, so now I'm going to be adding this to it as well. And the reasons I chose Jackson Crawford, he had written a interesting edition of the Hobbimal, like the Wisdom of Odin. So I really liked what he did with this. Of course, it's like a little travel companion that you could have, but I liked his translation. I liked his format, his explanations, and he was a university professor, and now he's like a full-time YouTuber. He's a very prolific YouTuber. And yeah, I've liked a lot of his videos over the years, so I just really wanted to give him more of a chance. That's why I'm doing these two. But, of course, I speak for all the co-hosts when I say that we'd love it if you joined us. The Saga of the Volsungs, I haven't read it yet, but it should be a lot of fun. And this edition also has the Saga of Ragnar Lothbrok, which I think in the extent copy that we have of this saga, that was also at the end. That was included, so I think that's why Crawford put this in here. But you can also get this edition through Penguin. There are various ways, and I'm sure you can find some free editions online. They're in the public domain. But yeah, so again, this video is going to be released April 20th, and in around 2 weeks from that date, I'll be posting my thoughts on this. In addition, I will, in our Historathon 2024 Discord, which I'll leave an information for Historathon down below, I will create a sub-thread in our, we have a thread for 500 to 1500. I'll create a sub-thread about the saga for anybody who wants to join in, and you can, if you like, join the Discord and give us your thoughts there, give us updates, whatever you like. But I'll create that, and I'll have that up and running for April 20th. So, love to have you along. As always, thank you, Booktube.